What do all these really famous songs share in common? Paranoid by Black Sabbath, Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard, Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis, and Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Yes, even that song. Of course, these songs are arguably the biggest song by each of those artists, and they're all quite different, but they do actually share something quite interesting in common. None of these songs were written or intended to be as popular as they became, and definitely not intended to be each band's most popular song. Obviously, when bands are recording in studios, they've got no real way of knowing which song is going to be the hit before the album comes out, but these songs were definitely not supposed to be the hit. And for the most part, these songs actually only exist by accident. And a common story is that these bands only wrote these songs because they didn't have enough songs to fill up their albums, so when they were recording, they needed one more song just to make it complete, so they very quickly wrote something, and those are the songs that became these massive songs that we hear today. When Def Leppard were recording their album Hysteria, they'd pretty much finished the album, but again, they just needed that one more song just to make it fully complete. So bouncing around ideas, they very quickly threw together Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Pour Some Sugar on Me, we'd actually finished the album. Joe's sitting in the corridor singing, and Mutt goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "I don't know." And 10 days later, we had it finished, and that was the last song on the album.
And the album was almost done.
It was, as far as we were concerned, because we've been on it for so long.
I don't think the record company really wanted us to put it on the record, did
They didn't.
And Mutt, being who he is, says, no, you got something there.
Yeah, he says, "Give us 2 weeks, and we'll have this down.
Pour some sugar on me."
Yeah.
And now when we think of Def Leppard, we think of that song. It's exactly the same story with Paranoid by Black Sabbath. They needed one more song to fill up the album, but this time around they had a very specific amount of time that they needed to fill.
Where did Paranoid come from?
And we didn't have enough songs to fill the album. So the producer said, "We need another song." "We don't have another song. What can you come up with one?" "It can't be any more than 2.5 minutes. We've never written anything less than bloody 5 minutes. The others had gone out to have something to eat. I came up with this riff. So when they got back, I played them this idea of Paranoid.
That's why Paranoid by Black Sabbath is not a very long song, because they only needed something short to fill up the album. Now obviously we can't think of Black Sabbath without thinking of Paranoid and that iconic guitar riff. Deep Purple was scheduled to record their 1972 album Machine Head in a casino in Switzerland, but right before they were able to record their album, somebody burnt the casino down at a Frank Zappa concert by shooting a flare gun to the ceiling. The band had to very quickly rethink their recording location, which they did, and then they were one song short from finishing the album and decided to throw together a song about their experience of the casino burning down where they were supposed to record. That song being Smoke on the Water, which just tells the tale of what happened that night.
We set up and spent the afternoon, plugging mics in and wires trailing everywhere. Richie started playing this kind of mid-tempo riff. And as usual, we all kind of joined in, see where it was going, and it sounded, okay. And we very quickly threw together an arrangement.
We were 7 minutes short of an album. Martin said we need another track, and we only had a day left to do it.
Never thinking in a million years that was going to be the song that would define us from then on. You can't plan that. That's life just unfolding.
Noel Gallagher was in a hotel room in Paris one night and ended up writing a song that he thought nothing of. And that song, Don't Look Back in Anger.
It was after a show that we did. I remember being drunk, I remember writing it. My guitar was lying on the floor, and the lyrics were on a kind of table in the hotel room, and I played it back to myself.
Slip inside the eye of your mind.
Thought, could be good, could be pretty good. That was it, I never thought anything else of it.
This song's a little bit different because it wasn't just written to fill some space. This song was intended to be on Oasis' second album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. But Noel said a few times that he had absolutely no idea that song would be what it became, and if he had known, he would have never finished writing it.
Nobody knows who Sally is. I don't know who Sally is. And it's a song of no regrets. People say to me, well, did you realise what that song was going to become? If I'd have known then, writing that song that night, that 25 years later, people would be still singing it, I would never have finished that song, because it would have been too important to ever get right.
So clearly when he wrote that song, it was just a spur of the moment thing, and he had absolutely no idea it would be as big as it became. Certainly not one of Oasis's biggest songs. And certainly not a song that has so strongly cemented itself in British culture. Rick Astley was just a young lad from the north of England, and he was actually scouted by legendary producer Pete Waterman, and they ended up writing a song for Rick to sing on. That song became Never Gonna Give You Up.
Rick's voice was so powerful and unusual, we should write something for him.
One morning, I was on the phone for a long, long time.
Probably had a blazing row with his girlfriend, and when he clicked the phone off and threw it.
And, you know, Rick said in the car, "You're never going to give her up."
Yeah, but you're never going to give her up, are you?
I went, wow, that's an idea for a song.
But when they originally recorded it, they didn't like it, so they didn't do anything with it.
And the track that you now hear was done.
Whoever the engineer was pressed play. We got about a minute in and we didn't like it.
We finished the recording and we left it on the shelf. We weren't sure what we had. How stupid can you get?
I think they were unconvinced of my voice and the way I looked, and me being able to front it. And to be honest, I think they were kind of right.
And eventually Pete Waterman sent it off to a magazine, which then sent it off to a radio station, that radio station being Capital, one of the most popular radio stations at the time and still today. And then before they knew it, that song was #1 in the charts. It was #1 in the charts before anyone even knew who Rick Astley was. When it was #1, they didn't even know what Rick Astley looked like.
It just went so fast, it was unreal. We only made the video in the week it went to #1. I mean, let's face it, I looked about 11 years old. People just looked at me and went, what? That guy's singing it? But I think that's part of the charm of it.
So they had to very quickly film a music video for the song so people could see who Rick Astley was. Who is this guy who is #1 in the charts who nobody has heard of? And that video was filmed very quickly. Rick Astley himself was just wearing his own clothes, just doing a little bit of a shuffle dance, the dance that we all now know and love. And it's hard to imagine that song without that music video too. Now obviously all these years later, the internet got its hands on that song and the video, which became the now legendary meme, the rickroll. But that's just a few examples. I'm sure there's many songs that also exist that were never supposed to be big hits, songs that were written accidentally, songs that were written very quickly. And it's always interesting to me as a musician how these things happen. So I guess the moral of the story is that if you're a musician or if you're in a band and you've got some songs and some ideas that you're not sure what to do with, just record it, put it out there, because you never know.